You're nothing but the backup kid, meant to cover his future. My mom snapped when I refused to pay my brother's debts again. What they didn't know was that I'd already been rerouting the family trust payments they relied on. So when their accounts suddenly hit, sir, you know that moment when your entire world shifts, and you realize the people who were supposed to protect you have been systematically destroying you. Well, I had that moment, and it started with the deafening sound of my mother's perfectly manicured nails drumming on a polished mahogany table, a relentless countdown to a detonation I was more than ready for. I'm Samantha, and I sat there, trying to appear as motionless as the antique furniture, while my brother Nash slouched in his chair, carefully avoiding eye contact. My father, Daniel, paced restlessly behind him, his shadow flickering like a bad omen. This was it. The moment I'd been quietly, patiently preparing for. Another startup failure. My mother, Francesca, spat, her voice a poisonous whip cracking through the silence. She shoved a stack of papers across the table, their edges slicing the air. 400,000 in debt. Your brother needs you to step up again. I picked up the documents, my fingers tracing the numbers. Staggering, yes, but not because of their size. No, their staggering quality was their sheer, mind-numbing predictability. This was Nash's third failed tech venture in 5 years. Same pattern, different zeros. A truly impressive, albeit catastrophic, consistency. The trust fund. My father, Daniel, finally interjected, his voice attempting that familiar tone of assumed authority, but it wavered, betraying a hint of desperation. Your half needs to cover this, Samantha. It's what family does. I kept my face carefully blank, a practiced skill since childhood. My half. Nash, bless his charming, feckless heart, finally looked up, flashing that boyish grin that had been his get-out-of-jail-free card since we were kids. Come on, Sammy, he cajoled, as if we were discussing a loan for a new video game. You know I'm on to something big this time. The app just needs more runway. More runway. I repeated softly, letting the words hang in the air, a whisper that carried the weight of years. Like the last 3 times? My mother's hands slammed against the table, the sharp crack echoing my own simmering rage. Don't you dare take that tone, Samantha. Your brother is building something important. You're just... She paused, her lips curling into a venomous sneer. You're just a spare child, meant to fund his future. The words should have cut me, deep and painful, like they would have just 6 months ago. But today, they were just a confirmation, a final, undeniable validation of what I'd always known. What had, in fact, driven me to act. Remember when I broke my arm in 8th grade? I asked, the apparent non sequitur designed to catch them off guard. Nash's baseball tournament had been that weekend. Instead of taking me to the doctor, you made me sit in the bleachers for 6 hours, holding my arm, because Nash needed his support system. My father waved his hand dismissively. That's ancient history, Samantha. We're talking about now, about family loyalty. You're right, I said, pulling out my phone, a slow, deliberate movement. I opened my banking app, the screen glowing ominously. We are talking about loyalty. Nash leaned forward, his eyes suddenly bright with anticipation. So you'll do it? Transfer the money today? I turned the phone around, displaying the trust account balance. $0. The silence that followed was so profound, it pressed in on me, heavy and suffocating. My mother's voice finally broke it, a raw, ragged whisper. What? What did you do? Nothing you didn't teach me to do. I replied, my voice steady, calm, almost unnervingly so. I took care of my future, just like you always said Nash should. My father's face contorted, a mask of disbelief and rage. That money was meant to be shared for both of you. Funny thing about Grandma Eva's trust. I continued, standing up slowly, savoring the sudden power of the moment. There was a clause. If either beneficiary could prove independent legal standing and financial management. Nash sprang to his feet, his chair scraping violently against the floor. You can't do that. I need that money. Get a job, I said, picking up my purse. The words were a quiet echo of every single time I'd ever bankrolled his dreams with my half of every inheritance, every bonus, every gift we'd ever received. My mother's voice suddenly turned sickeningly sweet, a desperate attempt to reel me back in. Darling, you're not thinking clearly. We can discuss this as a family. We are discussing it as a family. I cut her off, my gaze unwavering. I'm just not playing my assigned role anymore. You ungrateful little. My father started, but I was already walking toward the door, my heels clicking a defiant rhythm. The money's gone. I called over my shoulder, the words reverberating with a satisfying finality. Legally. Permanently. Invested in something that will actually generate returns. You taught me well about financial planning when you were teaching Nash. Of course, I just happened to be in the room. My mother's guttural scream of rage followed me all the way out to my car. I sat there for a moment, hands steady on the steering wheel, allowing myself a small, triumphant smile. The tsunami of calls and texts would start soon, I knew. The flying monkeys would be deployed. The family reputation management machine would kick into high gear. But for the first time in my life, I held all the cards. My phone buzzed. A text from Robin, my best friend. Did you do it? Did you tell them? I typed back quickly, a jolt of exhilaration running through me. It's done. No going back now. Another buzz. My mother. What did you do? I started the engine, pulling away from the curb. Years of being the family ATM, the emotional punching bag, the invisible support beam holding up the shrine to Nash's potential, flashed through my mind. They never saw me as more than a spare part in their perfect family machine. They were about to learn exactly how essential that spare part had been. As I drove, my phone kept lighting up with increasingly frantic messages. I turned it off completely, relishing the silence. The real storm hadn't even started yet, but for the first time in my life, I was ready for it. They wanted to talk about family loyalty? Oh, I'd show them exactly what I'd learned from their lessons. You're telling me there's a loophole? I'd asked Robin, my jaw practically on the floor, about 3 months earlier. We were surrounded by the dusty trust documents spread across her living room floor. After all these years. Right here, Robin said, tapping a section of legal paper with her pen, her lawyer instincts in full force. Your grandmother was clever, Sam. This clause isn't just boilerplate. It's specifically crafted. If either beneficiary can demonstrate financial independence and responsible management for 6 consecutive months. I leaned closer, my eyes scanning the fine print, a tremor of hope starting deep in my chest. They can petition for full control of the remaining trust assets. Exactly. Robin sat back, watching me carefully, her eyes gleaming. Sam, this is your chance. You've been supporting yourself for years. Your investment portfolio is solid. You could qualify right now. I remember pacing her apartment that night, my mind racing a mile a minute. They'll fight it. Let them, Robin countered, already grabbing her laptop. I've already talked to Quentin. You remember him? Your grandmother's trustee. He's willing to review the petition. The memory shifted to Quentin's office 2 weeks later. He was exactly as I remembered, silver-haired, methodical, with eyes that missed absolutely nothing. Your grandmother was very specific about this clause, he'd said, reviewing my meticulous documentation. She insisted it remain, even when your mother tried to have it removed. I looked up sharply, a sudden, cold realization washing over me. My mother knew about this. She did. Quentin's expression remained perfectly neutral. She argued quite forcefully against it, said it would destabilize the family dynamic. I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. You mean it would destabilize her control? The petition is solid, Quentin continued, stamping several pages with a decisive thud. Once filed, there's a 3-month review period. During that time, maintain absolute silence about this. Any hint to your family could compromise the process. Back in the present, my phone buzzed again, vibrating with another voicemail from my mother. Answer your phone this instant, Samantha. Do you have any idea what you've done to this family? I clicked play on the next one. The trust manager must have made a mistake. Fix this now, Samantha. Your brother needs that money. And the next. If you don't call me back in 5 minutes, you are no longer my daughter. Do you understand me? 5 minutes? I deleted them all and dialed Robin instead. They know, I said when she answered. How bad? Nuclear. My mother's already playing the disownment card. Right on schedule, Robin replied, a faint smile in her voice. Are you okay? Before I could answer, my phone beeped with an incoming call. Quentin. Hold on, I told Robin, switching lines. Hello, Samantha. Quentin's voice was calm as ever. Your parents just left my office. They're demanding the trust transfer be reversed. And I informed them that everything was done legally and properly. The assets are now solely under your control. He paused. Your mother didn't take it well. I could imagine. Thank you, Quentin. For everything. There's something else you should know, he added. Something your grandmother told me to share, but only after the transfer was complete. My heart skipped a beat. What is it? She knew this would happen. Not the specifics, but the pattern. She told me, Samantha will need this escape hatch someday. Make sure she finds it when she's ready. Tears pricked at my eyes. Grandma Eva. She had seen it all. The golden child worship, the financial manipulation, the slow, insidious erosion of my independence. She'd built me a lifeboat before I even knew I was drowning. My doorbell rang, startling me back to the present. Through the peephole, I saw Nash, swaying slightly, clearly drunk. Samantha, he shouted, pounding on the door. Open up! We need to talk about this. I switched back to Robin's line. Nash is here, drunk. Don't open the door, she said immediately. Document everything. Record if he makes threats. Another pound. You can't do this to me, Sammy. That money was supposed to be mine. I started recording on my phone as his tirade continued. You're ruining everything. My investors were counting on that backup funding. Do you know what this will do to my reputation? Your reputation? I called through the closed door, a bitter laugh escaping me. What about the reputation I built while bankrolling your failures? That's what family does, he shouted back. We support each other. No, Nash, I said, my voice cutting through his drunken bluster. That's what I did, while you took and took and took. His voice turned ugly, laced with the venom he'd learned from our mother. You think you're so smart? Mom's right. You're just the backup plan. The spare. You were never supposed to matter. I smiled, even as tears rolled down my cheeks. That's the thing about spare parts, Nash. Sometimes they're the only thing holding the whole machine together. I heard him slide down against my door, his voice breaking, raw and desperate. Please, Sammy. I need this. I can't fail again. You already have, I whispered, too softly for him to hear. And this time, I won't be there to catch you. I stayed silent until his footsteps finally retreated, then sank to the floor myself, still clutching my phone. Robin's voice came through softly. You did it, Sam. You're free. But freedom, I was learning, came with its own kind of pain. The next morning, I found my father waiting by my car outside my office building. He looked smaller somehow, his expensive suit wrinkled, his usual commanding presence deflated. We need to talk, he said as I approached. I'm late for a meeting, I replied, not breaking stride. No, you're not. He stepped closer, blocking my path. I called your boss, told him it was a family emergency. My blood boiled, a slow, hot simmer. You did what? Sit with me. He gestured to a nearby bench. Please. I checked my phone. Sure enough, an email from my supervisor about taking the morning off. Even now, they were trying to control my narrative. Fine, I said, sitting as far from him as possible. Talk. Your mother is devastated, he began, attempting to guilt-trip me. She hasn't slept. Nash's investors are threatening legal action. We need to make this right. Make what right? I challenged. The fact that I legally claimed what was mine. He rubbed his temples, a gesture of deep fatigue. You don't understand the pressure Nash is under. The expectations. The expectations you put on him. I cut in, my voice sharp. While expecting me to fund them. We gave you everything. His voice rose, his old bluster returning. Private school, college. You gave Nash everything. I corrected. I got student loans. I worked through college while he focused on his potential. I pulled out my phone, opening a spreadsheet I'd meticulously kept. Want to see my records? Every dollar I've given him since we turned 18? It's over $2 million. His face went pale, a sickening gray. You kept track. Of course I did, I said, a dry, humorless laugh escaping me. I'm good with numbers, remember? Or did you forget that too, since it didn't fit your narrative about Nash being the business genius? A group of my coworkers walked past, trying very hard not to stare. My father lowered his voice, humiliated. What do you want? He asked, desperation creeping in. Name your price to release the funds. I laughed, a truly incredulous sound. You still think this is a negotiation? The money is gone, Dad. Invested, protected, legal. Gone. Gone where? His eyes narrowed, suspicion replacing desperation. What did you do with it? Something smart. Something that will actually generate returns instead of funding another doomed startup. He grabbed my arm, his grip tight, almost bruising. You tell me right now. Let go, I said quietly, my voice a dangerous whisper. Or I'll scream. Right here. In front of my office. In front of all these witnesses. How would that look for the family reputation? He released me like I'd burned him, his face twisting in disgust. You sound just like your mother. He spat. No, I said, standing up, my posture radiating newfound strength. I sound like someone who finally learned to fight back. Get a job, Dad. A real one. Stop living off your children. As I walked away, he called after me, his voice raw with disbelief. He's your brother. Your own blood. I turned back one last time, my gaze holding his. Blood doesn't excuse bleeding me dry. Inside my office, I found 3 emails from my mother, each one more hysterical than the last. The final one was a single, chilling line. Quentin told us about your grandmother's claws. How dare you? My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was my cousin Felicity, who I hadn't heard from in years. Heard what you did. About time someone stood up to them. Call me. I was about to respond when my office phone rang. The receptionist's voice was apologetic. Miss Grant, your brother is here. Tell him I'm in a meeting. He's already walking to your office. Nash burst in seconds later, looking even worse than yesterday. His designer clothes were rumpled, his eyes bloodshot, radiating panic. You have to fix this, he demanded. My investors are pulling out. Everything I've built. You mean everything I paid for? I countered, my voice flat. He slumped into the chair across from my desk, his shoulders slumping in defeat. I would have paid you back once the app took off. Like the last 3 apps? The crypto venture? The NFT marketplace? I said, pulling out a folder from my desk drawer. I'm closed this time. He leaned forward, his hands clasped, a desperate plea in his eyes. Just need 3 months of runway, Sammy. I'll sign a contract. Your contracts mean nothing, I said, pushing the folder across the desk. Inside were dozens of crumpled, faded IOUs he'd signed since we were 20. Here's every single one. All worthless. He stared at the stack of papers, then laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. You really did keep receipts. Someone had to. You know what's funny? He ran a hand through his disheveled hair, his gaze unfocused. You were always the smart one. The one who actually understood business. But they invested everything in me. Not funny. I corrected, my voice soft but firm. Tragic. Help me one last time. He pleaded, reaching across the desk. For old time's sake. I looked at my brother, really looked at him. The golden child, the chosen one, now reduced to begging in my office. No, I said softly. Get help, Nash. Real help. Learn to stand on your own. He stood up slowly, straightening his jacket with shaking hands, a flicker of something new in his eyes, maybe a dawning awareness. Mom was wrong, you know. About what? You weren't the spare, he said, walking to the door. You were the backbone. And now we're all going to fall. After he left, I sat there for a long time, staring at the folder of IOUs. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Felicity. There's something you need to know about Grandma Eva. Something Mom told me before she died. Can we meet? I stared at the message, feeling the ground shift beneath my feet once again. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I met Felicity at a quiet cafe across town, a place far from any of my family's usual haunts. She looked different from the last time I'd seen her years ago, more confident, with an easy smile that spoke of hard-won freedom. You look good, I said as she sat down. Living abroad does that, she replied, gesturing vaguely. Away from all this. Her expression turned serious. What did you want to tell me about Grandma Eva? Felicity glanced around conspiratorially before pulling out an old, creased envelope. Mom told me this before she passed. Aunt Francesca, your mother, she wasn't supposed to be the executive of Grandma's estate. I felt my coffee go cold in my hands, a chill spreading through me. What? It was supposed to be you. Grandma specifically requested it, but Aunt Francesca overruled it somehow. Got herself appointed instead. That's not possible, I argued, my mind reeling. The court would have looked. She pushed the envelope across the table. Inside were copies of the original will documents, with clear, undeniable annotations naming me as executive. Mom kept these. She felt guilty about staying quiet. My hand shook as I read, a fresh wave of betrayal washing over me. This changes everything. There's more. Felicity leaned forward, her voice dropping. Check your credit report now. I pulled up my phone, logging into my credit monitoring app, my heart pounding in my chest. What I saw made my stomach drop, a sickening lurch. 3 credit cards I never opened. I whispered, my voice barely audible. 2 personal loans. All maxed out. They did the same to me. Felicity said, her eyes full of empathy. Used my identity for years. That's why I left the country. She pointed to the dates on my screen. But these are recent. Since you took control of the trust. My mind flashed back to childhood memories. My mother making me sign papers I didn't understand, saying it was practice for being a businesswoman. A cold rage began to build. I need to call Robin, I said, already dialing. Already on it. Robin answered immediately, her voice crisp and urgent. I've been monitoring your credit since this started. They've opened 5 new accounts in the last week alone. Is it enough for criminal charges? I asked, a new resolve hardening my voice. Identity theft? Fraud? Financial abuse? Yes. But Sam, Robin cautioned, are you ready for that level of escalation? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Having a small gathering tonight. Your attendance is required. Family reputation at stake. Then another. Don't make me tell everyone about your mental health issues. They're trying to paint me as unstable. I told Robin and Felicity, a grim laugh escaping me. Classic move. Fight back. Felicity urged, her hand closing over mine. I didn't, and I regret it every day. My phone kept buzzing. Flying monkeys. Your mother's worried sick about your erratic behavior. Typed a family friend. Robin was already in full lawyer mode. I'm calling in favors. We'll have police reports filed by morning. Financial Crimes Unit loves cases with this much documentation. Do it, I said, my voice steady, unwavering. All of it. Felicity squeezed my hand. There's one more thing. The estate in Switzerland, the one everyone thinks Aunt Francesca inherited. Check the property records. I looked up sharply, a new surge of adrenaline. Why? Because Grandma Eva was playing a very long game. She smiled, a knowing glint in her eyes. And I don't think anyone knows the whole board yet. That evening, I sat in my apartment with Robin, sifting through years of financial records. Each discovery was worse than the last, a sickening chronicle of betrayal. They used your identity to secure loans for Nash's startups. Robin said, highlighting document after document. Multiple times. That's federal fraud. Look at this. I pointed to a series of transfers. Every time I got a bonus at work, money moved from my account to Nash's within hours. How did they even know? Robin realized, a look of dawning horror on her face. They had access to your accounts? Probably since I was a teenager. I said, my voice devoid of emotion. They never let go of the control. My phone lit up with another message from my mother. Last chance. Attend tonight or face the consequences. Go, Robin said suddenly. What? Go to their gathering. Record everything. Let them dig their hole deeper. I stared at the mounting evidence of decades of financial abuse, the cold, hard proof of their treachery. They'll try to ambush me. Exactly. Robin smiled grimly. And this time, you'll be ready. I thought about the young girl I used to be, signing papers without question, believing it was normal for family to take and take and take. Time to end this, I said, standing up, a fierce resolve burning inside me. Be careful, Felicity warned, her voice laced with concern. Aunt Francesca plays dirty when cornered. So do I replied, picking up my keys, a new steel in my gaze. She made sure of that. As I drove to my parents' house, my phone buzzed one more time. A message from an unknown number. This is Quentin. Don't delete any financial records. The FBI fraud division will need them all. I smiled, a genuine, unburdened smile, thinking of my mother's perfectly curated society gathering about to implode. They wanted to talk about family reputation? Oh, let's talk. This small gathering turned out to be a full-scale society event, my mother's specialty. 40 of our family's closest friends and relatives milled around the garden, all carefully selected for maximum impact. I recognized her strategy immediately, witnesses for whatever show she had planned. Samantha, darling! My mother's voice carried across the lawn, artificially bright, dripping with feigned concern. We were so worried you wouldn't come! Every head turned. The whispers started immediately, a low, buzzing hum. Poor Francesca, dealing with such a troubled daughter. I heard she's having some kind of breakdown, taking money from her own brother. I kept my phone recording in my pocket as I approached my mother, her smile razor-sharp, a thin, dangerous line. Everyone's been so concerned, she said loudly, for the benefit of the surrounding crowd. After your recent episodes. I matched her volume, my voice clear and strong, cutting through her performance. You mean discovering the credit cards you opened in my name? Her smile flickered, a momentary break in her composure. Aunt Margaret swooped in, a caricature of theatrical concern, touching my arm. Sweetie, we all know you've been under stress, she cooed, making up these awful stories. I pulled out my phone, opening my credit report, the screen a stark white against the twilight. You mean these stories? Would you like to see the fraud alerts? Put that away! My mother hissed, her facade crumbling. Why? I turned to the gathering crowd, letting my voice carry. Afraid they'll see how you and Dad committed identity theft? Used my social security number for Nash's failed ventures? You're hysterical! My father cut in, appearing beside my mother, his face red with fury. This is exactly what we're worried about. Is she having another episode? Someone whispered loudly. She's clearly unwell. I laughed, a sharp, disbelieving sound that cut through the manufactured concern. Let's talk about episodes. Like the time you made me sign loan documents when I was 16. That's illegal, by the way. Enough! My mother grabbed my arm, her manicured nails digging in, trying to drag me away. Nash emerged from the crowd, swaying slightly, his eyes wide with a mixture of confusion and fear. Sammy, stop this! You're embarrassing everyone. No. I pulled free, my arm aching. I'm exposing everyone. There's a difference. Security Fraud Division! Robin's voice rang out as she walked through the garden gate, her presence a sharp, welcome shock. That's who's investigating the identity theft. Just thought everyone should know what's coming. My mother's face went utterly white, her carefully applied makeup suddenly stark against her pallor. This is a private event. You need to leave. Actually, Robin smiled, a predatory gleam in her eyes. I'm here officially as Samantha's legal counsel, and I have some documents to share with the group. She pulled out copies of the credit reports, the fraudulent loans, the original will naming me executive, and started passing them around. These are lies! My father sputtered, but his voice shook, his bluster completely gone. The whispers changed tone, morphing into gasps of horror and disbelief. Those are real bank documents. Look at these dates. Multiple credit cards in her name. You want to talk about mental health? I addressed the crowd, my voice ringing with a newfound authority. Let's discuss the psychological impact of financial abuse, of being used as a human ATM, of having your identity stolen by your own parents. Stop this! My mother pleaded, her public mask finally cracking, tears streaming down her face, leaving dark trails of mascara. Think about the family name. I replied, my voice hard as stone. I'm thinking about how you destroyed it yourselves. Nash lunged forward suddenly, grabbing my arm, his face twisted in a desperate fury. You think you're so perfect, so much better than me. No, I said calmly, acutely aware of every phone now recording us, every eye fixed on this unfolding drama. I think I'm done being your backup plan. My father stepped between us, his face red with exertion, his breath catching in his throat. You ungrateful. He stopped mid-sentence, clutching his chest. Daniel! My mother's voice turned shrill, piercing the chaos. He stumbled, gasping, then collapsed, a crumpled heap on the manicured lawn. The crowd erupted in chaos. Call an ambulance! Someone shouted. As people rushed around us, I stood still, watching the carefully orchestrated evening dissolve into pure, unadulterated panic. My mother knelt beside my father, all pretense forgotten, mascara running down her cheeks. Nash backed away, mumbling. This is your fault. All your fault. The ambulance arrived within minutes, its sirens a wail of impending truth. Paramedics loaded my father onto a stretcher. My mother turned to me, her face twisted with fury and raw fear. "Are you happy now?" she spat, her voice thick with hatred. "Is this what you wanted?" "No," I said quietly, the devastation in my voice genuine. "This isn't what I wanted. This is what you created." Robin appeared at my side as my parents disappeared into the ambulance. "You okay?" "No," I admitted, a heavy weight in my chest. "But I will be." The remaining guests scattered quickly, clutching their copies of the evidence, phones buzzing with messages spreading the news like wildfire. By morning, everyone would know. "Your father will be fine," Robin assured me, her hand resting gently on my arm. "Probably just stress and high blood pressure." "I know." I watched the ambulance drive away, its red lights fading into the distance. "But nothing else will be." My phone buzzed. "Felicity." "Saul." "What happened?" "Don't back down now. Check your email. I sent you Grandma Eva's Swiss property records. You're going to want to see this." I looked around the abandoned garden party, at the scattered evidence of decades of manipulation and lies. Somewhere in the distance, I heard my mother's carefully constructed reputation crumbling. And for the first time, the sound didn't hurt at all. The hospital corridor smelled of disinfectant and stale coffee, a stark contrast to the opulence of yesterday's implosion. I sat outside my father's room, waiting for my mother to finish her tearful performance for the nurses. Nash slouched in a chair opposite me, his expensive clothes wrinkled from sleeping in the waiting room. "He's stable," Nash said, breaking our hour-long tense silence. "Just a panic attack," they said. "Not a real heart attack." "Good," I responded, my voice flat. "Is that all you can say?" He leaned forward, his eyes red-rimmed and bloodshot. "After what you did." "What I did?" I met his gaze, unflinching. "You mean expose the truth? You could have handled it privately, like you all handled stealing my identity privately." He flinched, a raw wound exposed. "I didn't know about that part." "Not at first." "When did you find out?" Nash looked away, shame etched on his face. 3 years ago. When the crypto startup failed. Mom said they'd used your credit to secure some loans. I should have said something. But you didn't. I couldn't fail again." His voice cracked, a desperate plea. "Do you know what that's like? Being the one they bet everything on?" "No," I said quietly, my voice devoid of pity. "I was too busy being the one they took everything from." My mother emerged from the room, makeup perfectly refreshed despite her distress, a testament to her unwavering dedication to appearances. "The nurses need to check his vitals," she announced, her voice strained. "Nash, go get some coffee." "Samantha, a word." Nash shuffled away, leaving me alone with her. "The police called this morning," she said, her voice low and dangerous, a veiled threat. "Financial Crimes Division. Are you happy now? Were you happy all those years forging my signature?" I retorted, my voice sharp. "We did what was necessary for this family." "No," I corrected. "You did what was necessary for Nash. I was just collateral damage." She sat beside me, smoothing her skirt, her composure unsettling. "You were always so capable, so reliable. We knew you could handle it." "Handle being defrauded? Handle supporting your brother's dreams?" she snapped. "You had no ambition of your own, no vision. You were just the spare." I finished. A nurse walked past, and my mother's voice dropped to a whisper. "We can fix this, Samantha. Make the charges go away. Return to how things were." "They're federal charges, Mom," I said, a bitter taste in my mouth. "This isn't a society scandal you can smooth over with a party." "Then why?" she demanded, her voice rising again, raw with desperation. "Why destroy everything?" I pulled out my phone, showing her the credit report, the stark evidence of her lies. "You destroyed it. Every time you forged my name. Every time you drained my accounts for Nash. Every time you chose him over basic human decency. He's special," she insisted, a familiar, pathetic plea. "He just needs more time. He's 32. I cut in, my voice unwavering. "How much more time does he need?" "You don't understand." "No, you don't understand. It's over. The money's gone. The fraud is exposed. Nash needs to grow up, and you and Dad need to face consequences." She stood up, straightening her designer jacket, her mask back in place. We'll see about that. Your father and I still have friends in high places. Not anymore, I said, opening my email. These records are already with the FBI and the IRS. And the media. Her face went pale, a sickly white. You wouldn't dare. I already did. I smiled faintly. Check tomorrow's financial papers. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. Quentin. Package arrived. Everything you sent is now with federal investigators. My mother's hand shook as she read the message over my shoulder. You've ruined us. No. I stood up, feeling a lightness I hadn't felt in years. I freed us. All of us. Even Nash. I'll never forgive you for this. I know. I smiled sadly. But I finally forgive myself. Nash returned with coffee, looking between us wearily, sensing the shifting, dangerous dynamics. Everything okay? Tell him, I said to my mother. Tell him about the fraud, the identity theft, the illegal loans. Tell him what his dreams really cost. She turned away, silent, defeated. Mom? Nash's voice was small, like a child's. What is she talking about? I handed him the credit report, watched his face crumble as he read, the truth dawning in his eyes. All those times you said the money was from family investments. He whispered, his voice full of pain. It was, my mother said sharply, clinging to her delusion. Samantha is family. It was theft. He corrected, looking sick, the coffee cup shaking in his hands. All of it. My whole career is built on stolen money. A nurse appeared in the doorway. Your father's asking for you, Mrs. Grant. My mother straightened her spine, mask back in place. We'll discuss this later, as a family. No, I said, gathering my things. We won't. I left them there, my mother retreating into denial, Nash finally facing reality. As I walked out of the hospital, my phone buzzed one last time. An email from Quentin. Your grandmother left something else for you. A sealed envelope to be opened only after everything else was revealed. Come see me tomorrow. I stepped into the sunlight, feeling lighter than I had in years. Whatever was in that envelope, I was finally ready to face it. The spare child had become the last one standing. Quentin's office looked exactly the same as it had months ago when I'd first discovered the trust loophole. But this time, I wasn't nervous. I was ready. Your grandmother was quite specific about the timing of this, he said, pulling out a thick, aged envelope. She said, give this to Samantha when she finally stands up for herself. My hands trembled slightly as I opened it. Inside were several documents, a letter, and a small, ornate key. Dear Samantha. I read aloud, my voice hushed. If you're reading this, you've finally done what I never could. Broken free from Francesca's web of control. Quentin sat quietly as I continued, his eyes gentle. I watched her do to you what she did to me. Use money as a weapon, manipulate through guilt, always demanding more. I tried to protect you with the trust, but I knew that wouldn't be enough. So I left you something else, something Francesca doesn't know exists. I pulled out the property deed. The estate in Switzerland. Your mother thinks she inherited it. Quentin explained softly. She never checked the actual records because Grandma Eva transferred it to me 5 years ago. I whispered, reading the documentation, the truth a warm wave washing over me. Before she died. There's more. Quentin pointed to another document. It was a bank statement. 7 figures in a private Swiss account. She built this for you. Quentin said, his voice full of quiet admiration. Every time. Francesca demanded money from her, Eva matched the amount and put it aside for you. I kept reading the letter, tears blurring the words. My darling girl, I saw your strength long before you did. How you protected Nash even while they drained you dry. How you built yourself up despite them tearing you down. This money isn't charity. It's what you should have had all along. Use it to build something for your perfect timing. Perfect timing. Quentin noted, a small smile playing on his lips. Your grandmother would have appreciated that. Another document caught my eye. A business plan, written in Eva's elegant, confident hand. A scholarship foundation. I realized, my voice catching. For young women trapped by financial abuse. She left the framework. Quentin confirmed. But the execution is up to you. My phone kept buzzing, a steady stream of messages from Nash, my mother, my father. I turned it off. There was no room for their noise in this moment. There's one more thing. Quentin said, pulling out a final, smaller envelope. This arrived from Felicity this morning. Inside were photos, dozens of them. Eva with a young me at moments I'd forgotten. Science fairs my parents had skipped. Dance recitals they'd missed for Nash's games. My grandmother had been there for all of them, a silent, loving presence. She knew, I said, tears finally falling freely out on my cheeks. She saw everything. And she planned accordingly. Quentin smiled. The estate is fully staffed, by the way. Ready whenever you want to visit. A knock at the door interrupted us. Robin burst in, a wide, triumphant grin on her face. It's everywhere, she announced, her voice practically vibrating with excitement. Every major news outlet. The FBI just froze all their accounts. How bad? I asked, my own heart thrumming with a mixture of apprehension and grim satisfaction. Your mother's social circles are imploding. Your father's business partners are distancing themselves. Nash's investors are suing. I looked at the scholarship foundation plans, spread out on Quentin's desk. Good time for something new to rise from the ashes. About that, Robin pulled out her laptop. I've been working on the legal framework for the foundation. We can have it operational within months. My phone buzzed again. This time, a text from Felicity. Saw the news. Karma's finally here. When are you coming to Switzerland? Your grandmother had one last request, Quentin said, pointing to the end of her letter. I read the final lines. Don't let them make you bitter. My darling, use this to help others break free. That's the best revenge. Turning pain into purpose. Robin squeezed my shoulder. Ready to build something real? I looked at the estate photos, the foundation plans, the evidence of my grandmother's years of quiet rebellion and preparation. The EVA Grant Foundation for Financial Independence. I said, the words solid and powerful. Helping women escape financial abuse and build their own legacies. Perfect. Robin grinned. Want to know the best part? It'll be announced the same day your parents appear in court. My phone lit up one last time. A message from Nash. I understand now what they did, what I let happen. I'm sorry. I picked up the key to the Swiss estate, feeling its weight in my hand, a symbol of liberation. Time to go see my new home. Your grandmother would be proud. Quentin said quietly. No. I corrected him, gathering the documents. She knew this would happen. She just waited for me to be ready. As I walked out of Quentin's office, I felt lighter than ever. The spare child had become something else entirely, an heir to a different kind of legacy, one built on freedom, not control. And I knew exactly what to do with it. The Swiss estate's windows caught the morning light, making the entire mansion glow. I stood in Eva's old study, my study now, reviewing applications for the foundation's first round of scholarships. This one, Felicity said, holding up a file, a knowing look on her face. She reminds me of you. Parents using her credit cards, forcing her to support a deadbeat brother. Add her to the short list. I nodded, my decision firm. Just as my phone buzzed with a news alert. Prominent couple pleads guilty in financial fraud case. The headline read, Daniel and Francesca to face sentencing next week. Robin's call came seconds later. They took the plea deal. 3 years, plus full restitution. And Nash? Bankruptcy proceedings started yesterday. He's actually getting help, Sam. Real help, not just throwing money at his problems. I walked to the window, watching the majestic Swiss Alps in the distance. Did you see the interview requests? 17 magazines, 3 major newspapers, and 2 documentary filmmakers. Robin confirmed, her voice buzzing with excitement. They're calling it the Trust Fund Revolution. How one woman standing against financial abuse inspired a movement. Send them all to the foundation's PR team. I said, a wry smile on my face. Let's use the attention for something good. A soft knock at the door interrupted us. Mia Henderson, my grandmother's old friend and now the foundation's executive director, entered with a tablet. You need to see this, she said, pulling up a video. It was Nash, speaking at a financial literacy workshop. I was the golden child. He told the audience, his voice clear and humble. The chosen one. And it destroyed not just me, but my sister. Don't let family loyalty become financial abuse. He's actually doing it. I whispered, a profound sense of relief washing over me. Teaching others from his mistakes. People can surprise you. Mia smiled. Eva always said that. My phone buzzed again. A message from my mother. Her first since the guilty plea. The foundation. It's what she would have wanted. I see that now. I deleted it without responding. Some bridges weren't meant to be rebuilt. First round of scholarship recipients goes public tomorrow. Felicity reminded me, beaming. 20 women. Full funding for education or business ventures, plus mentorship, legal support, and financial counseling. Robin added through the speaker. Everything you didn't have. I picked up a framed photo from the desk. Eva and me at my college graduation, the only family member who showed up. She'd known even then what I'd become. Miss Grant. My assistant poked her head in. The documentary crew is here for the foundation launch, and there's someone else. Nash stepped into the doorway, looking different, humbler, cleaner, clear-eyed. Hey, Sammy, he said quietly, his gaze meeting mine. I'm not staying. Just wanted you to have this. He handed me an envelope containing a check. Small, but clearly all he could afford. First restitution payment. He explained, a flicker of pride in his eyes. Voluntary, not court-ordered. It's not much, but give it to the foundation. I said, a gentle smile on my face. Help someone else's spare child. He nodded, understanding dawning in his eyes. You were never spare, you know. You were the strongest one of us all. After he left, I turned back to the scholarship applications. 20 women about to break free, with hundreds more applying every day. Eva would love this, Mia said, arranging papers on the desk. The spare child building an empire of liberation. My phone lit up with another message from Quentin. Your grandmother left one last thing. A video message to be played only when you're ready. Are you ready? I looked around the study, at the scholarship files, the foundation plans, the growing movement we built from the ashes of financial abuse. Yes, I texted back. I'm ready. Moments later, Eva's face filled my screen, her eyes warm and knowing. My darling girl, if you're watching this, you've done it. You've broken the cycle, built something new. Remember this. You were never spare. You were always the key. The one strong enough to set everyone free, including yourself. I'm so proud of the woman you've become. Felicity squeezed my hand as the video ended, tears in her own eyes. She knew all along. She did, I agreed, standing up, a surge of power coursing through me. Now let's go change some lives. The documentary crew waited in the grand hall. Cameras ready to capture the foundation's launch. But they weren't just filming a story about revenge or justice. They were filming the beginning of a revolution. One that started with a spare child who refused to be spare anymore. Ready? Robin asked through the phone, her voice filled with anticipation. I thought about all the women waiting for their chance to break free. All the lives about to change. Ready? I smiled, a genuine, unburdened smile. Let's show them what the spare ones can do. Because sometimes the spare part isn't extra at all. Sometimes it's the piece that builds something entirely new. And I was just getting started.